News, views, voices of the global Indian community. India abroad.
As I was trying to say that, the challenges for an ethnic minority begin after the third generation. So most of the kids who are here, people who are here, are second generation people. So I've spoken to, Sheshamani earlier. Her parents came from India, lived in New York, New Jersey, engineering just like me. And it's so nice to see the second generation, if you will, still find that affiliation with India and so on. And as long as they continue to do that, hopefully the third generation, so my grandchildren, if you will also share in those sentiments. But after that, it's anybody's guess as to how it's going to be. But I think while many of the Indians who came here earlier have enjoyed the economic benefits that and entrepreneurial opportunities offered by America, the subsequent generations, may continue to have that. They should, because they got the opportunity to get educated. But the third and fourth generation tends to, generally speaking, diminish in that. So it is important that we have this kind of a dialogue going, because that affiliation with your ethnicity and your background is what gives you self-confidence and is what gives you the power of knowing that you come from a very rich heritage, cultural heritage. And in a conversation that I had with somebody many years ago, and if you analyze the previous immigrants to the United States, the African American community that was built with slave labor, if you will, unfortunately did not have the same privilege that we have, in the sense that many of them didn't know where they came from. So when you talk to a black person, it's very normal for them to say, I'm from Alabama or Missouri, my great-grandmother came as a slave or whatever. But not having that knowledge of their own cultural heritage. Okay, I'm not talking about specifically, just Africa as a whole, but specifically, say, Nigerian or Namibian, influences. That is a handicap, and it's not taught in our schools. So for the Asian community, people like us, advocating, teaching history and geography and raising awareness of our own cultural background is certainly a kind of a foundation on which you build more self-confidence. So having these kinds of events where you meet people from a diverse group, healthcare, engineers, politicians, government officials, etc., gives you an opportunity to find that common ground to build upon. So I'm really happy that I'm here. So I've given it a little bit of thought. I mean, in this case, it implies that Desis are people from India. Okay? Although my children, who are born and raised here, and many of these kids here were born and raised here, for them, Desi should imply America, right? So that is a fine difference in how you separate the two. Okay. So Desis now, if you say Desis decide for America, that almost sounds like interference. Right. Okay. Right. So if you say Desis decide for India, that is also interference. Right. But if Desis are deciding U.S.-India relations, it's a little different. So the question is, what do Desis decide? Yes, or those who, it's interesting, you should say that. That's absolutely right. That's one interpretation. But to the people like us who immigrated here from India, Desis implies people who are from India, So I'm trying to sort of differentiate between the two. Because a lot of our kids say, we are not Indian, we are American. Okay? So you will not see some of those people here. And I know a lot of children of Indian origin who take a lot of pride in being American, and do not necessarily, you know, sort of, they take pride in their Indian origins, but they don't like to be called Indian. They like to be called American, okay, for good reason, and it should be like that. We are all American. Now, again, if you go back and talk to a white American, it's not unusual for them to say, my mother was Italian, my dad is German, my grandfather was from England. So, projecting forward, I see my grandchildren saying the same thing, that I'm from Texas, but my grandparents came from India. Now, one of my sons is married to an American girl. So, if you see my grandchildren there, it's hard to identify them as Indian per se. And I'm sure that they would take a lot of pride in their Indian heritage. But in fact, I was at a basketball game recently, and there was a white lady sitting and her husband sitting at our table. And she said, you will never guess where I'm from. I said, where? She said, my grandparents came from Lucknow. Okay, and she's white. And she said, although my parents visited India a lot, I did not. Okay, but when I meet another person of Indian origin, I like to chat with you. So that affiliation with your heritage is an important element of your identity. Okay, so I think these kind of events are an eye opener for people like me who came here 51 years ago, and at the same time learning from and listening to the next generation is very heartening, if you will. It's good to see, the lady who spoke about Medicare. She talked about healthcare issues in America, but she also related how her parents are experiencing Medicare. So I had a brief chat with her. I was telling her about my own experience with Medicare after I retired. It was a little unnerving to know that Medicare doesn't cover your healthcare challenges when you're traveling overseas, that you have to buy insurance separately. It was not the case for 50 years when I had my corporate insurance, which covered me anywhere in the world. So that was a change that I had to which I had to get adapted to. But she recognizes that, okay, because her parents are from India and she had the same issues, right? Or if there are parents living overseas and coming here, they have the same problems. So I said, if you look at healthcare in America today, A, it's very expensive. B, if you don't have healthcare, you're screwed. C, if you're traveling from overseas, if you're not able to get proper coverage, you could be really in trouble very quickly. Okay, so we have discouraged a lot of our friends who are in my age group, who are 75 and above, to sort of say, hey, come and visit us, because who's going to take responsibility? They can, if they get a heart attack or if they slip and break a hip, it's very, very expensive, okay, if you don't have insurance. So healthcare is a big issue, and when you see young people like this, who experience both worlds, they are more sympathetic to the challenges, and they are also thinking outside the box as to how do we solve this problem, and it helps everybody, not just Indians. It just helps everybody. Okay, so I'm very happy that I'm here and have an opportunity to just listen to the younger crowd. They're balanced and they're grounded. Not one kid here says, hey, my dad made it. My aunt made it. They know that, but they are not talking about their parents, except in relation to their lifestyles, if you will. They're not afraid to talk about LGBTQ. They're not how many people in India do that? The statistics that I think her name was Meena, who gave about abortion. I was shocked by the percentage of people of Indian origin who have gone through abortions. Okay.
Who gave that statistics?
The lady, in the plenary session, yeah, okay. There were 4 or 5. I forget. I think her name was Meena something, and she spoke very well, and she spoke about the social and economic challenges of that particular matter, and I always felt that there was a problem of culture, promiscuity in certain cultures, um, economic circumstances, very poor or very wealthy, but when I heard about the problems within the Indian community, it was not something that I had expected, and the statistics that she rattled out about the challenges, you know, uh, I was quite taken by it, interesting challenges. So,